Hello, this is Quan from Quan, and I'm talking to myself. Kind of awkward. So I've been in Vietnam more than once, yes. I don't know if I really have been there enough to get an overall impression of the music scene and whether it's changed or not since I was last there. The thing that I do realize is that every time I come back here, I meet more people like Nick and Dan and Giles and Steve, the guys behind that last show in Hanoi. And I realize that there are definitely people out there actively trying to encourage the scene and find good music and create something in Vietnam, which is a great thing. And I think it can only really go up and up. Okay, what the difference between me as a member of Regurgitator and me as a member of Quan is generally that I get to refer to myself in third person a lot more now with this solo thing. The other good thing, which I think I mentioned before, was that I don't get cock-blocked by my bass player anymore, which is great. He's a pretty good-looking dude, covered in tattoos, very rock. Chicks dig it for some reason. Anyway, that's one definite difference. And of course, when you're solo, you have to kind of rely on your own performance a lot more, and really you make mistakes and you pay for them a lot more. But of course, you get to bask in the glory. Still waiting for that. But anyway, the story behind Quan the Amateur was really just, it's no story at all. I really wanted to do a solo record for like ages and ages. I really should have struck when the iron was a bit more hot. It's kind of a little lukewarm now, but there it is. It took me a while and I got it out, and I'm really proud that I actually finished something. The idea behind the title is that I watched this documentary recently, well, not too long ago anyway, and I'm not sure what it was about. It may have been the Helvetica documentary. I can't quite remember, but it was there was a great line in it about the origin of the word amateur, and of course it's from I now know it's from the Latin or the Italian amore or amare, which is to love. And obviously, it makes sense now that I find out that an amateur does it for the love of it, and it's within the word. And I thought that was really cool, and it sort of made it really clear to me the difference between a professional and an amateur as well. An amateur doing it for the love of it, and a professional doing it for money, essentially. And so I like the idea of the amateur, and I've always thought of myself as an amateur in terms of skills as well. And I've always been that way because I've come from I came from a real punk in the sense of DIY, not in the sense of hairdos and piercings and all that sort of stuff. But definitely the true meaning of the word, I believe, is really just to do it yourself and not give a fuck about production quality, or you just have a go. You can be really shit at something, but as long as you're having a go and you're producing something, then you're a punk. You're doing it punk style, and that's kind of what I've always had in my background. And I don't think that's really changed much. I have more gear now, and I kind of had the money to buy decent stuff to record with, so it sounds a little bit clearer, but the ethic is still the same. I don't consider myself a great musician or anything like that, and I really loathe working with great musicians because A, they make me look bad, and B, I generally find them less stimulating and less creative than working with complete strangers who have no prior experience, or have great voices but have never really thought about getting involved with music or whatever. How would I describe my music? I think I said it was awkward, and I kind of have to justify that by saying that I really love certain genres that are quite popular. I love R&B, and I love hip-hop, and I love pop music in general. I love those genres' production quality, so I like their form, but sometimes their content can be a little bit, tedious. That's not so much true of hip-hop, perhaps. There's a lot of kind of new, interesting hip-hop that's coming out that's, they don't rap about the normal kind of things, it's a bit more street poetry kind of, and rapping about internal affairs and all that sort of stuff. Personal kind of things. But I think R&B is certainly still a ways behind, and you know, there's a good reason for that. I guess R&B has always been seen as a kind of high end form of entertainment in terms of music go. I mean, all of the artists involved are expected to look really bling and to have lots of money behind them and have really slick videos and to be able to dance really well and all that sort of thing. And they generally talk about romantic ideals and life ideals. Certain living standards are kind of propelled by those artists and those imagery that they stick to generally. But I really like the idea of you know, dragging people into a genre that they feel comfortable with, they have certain expectations of, and then really just twisting it subtly until they get confused and a little bit uncomfortable. So I think pop and R&B are really good genres for that. You can lull people into this false sense of security before kind of like fucking with their heads. What talent would you like to have the most? I think being able to speak other languages would be great. I'm really shit at that for some reason. I mean, I'd love to be able to dance as well. Dancing would be fucking amazing. If I could dance like Justin Timberlake or, you know, like Michael Jackson, I would be so, so happy. I think I'm getting a little bit too old for it, though. I went to a hip-hop class in Hong Kong about 6 months ago now, and I basically couldn't walk for like 3 days afterwards, so I kind of gave it away, which is a bit of a shame, but I need like a partner to go with me and kind of, you know, egg it on. But yeah, dancing and speaking other languages would be a cool secret skill to have. What reactions do I like most from the audience? I guess I would have to say that I like an audience who is obviously thinking about what they're listening to. I mean, it's great to see an audience that actually feels the rhythm and can understand what you're trying to do rhythmically or melodically, and they have you can see that reaction, you can feel it with them, and you're kind of dancing with them in a way on stage when they're off. But the worst kind of crowd is the drunken yobbo, dumb crowd who just wants to kind of push each other around and, you know, have a violent time. I really don't like that. I really don't like guys who are, you know, aggressive when there are women around and stuff like that who just don't want to get involved with that sort of stuff. That really pisses me off. But the best place I've been to for audiences has definitely been Japan. Although the first time we played in Hanoi, it was incredible because it was such a great mixture of Vietnamese and also expats as well. It was like a 50-50 type of thing, mainly because I think of the Vietnamese metal band that was playing with us. I think they drew the Vietnamese crowd and also the low ticket price as well. But that was a great crowd because they were so enthusiastic and so mixed, such a great mixture of people. And they really responded to the music. I think they were really excited about it. Japan is a lot like that as well. They're very responsive, thoughtfully responsive. I really like that about an audience. They'll jump, you know, in sync with each other while the music's playing, and in the quiet moments they kind of like go ooh and get like all spooky, and then when it gets loud they start screaming. And the funny thing about Japanese crowds is that as soon as you finish they kind of clap for about 10 seconds and then it's completely silent. So you're standing on stage wanting desperately to say something funny but knowing that you can't because they won't understand it, and then just desperately wanting to move on to the next song to get, you know, avoid this awkward silence. Now, this is the last question, I think. If I was not a musician, what I would be? I think I said I would be an astronaut, but theoretically it's a hell of a lot of work and I'm probably a little bit too lazy for that. I mean, I really loved space when I was a kid. So I guess that's why I said that, but I probably would just be a bum. I mean, seriously. Being a musician and being fortunate enough to do this for a living for as long as I have has kind of, you know, left me with a complete and utter fear of anything even remotely 9 to 5. So I really don't know how to answer that question other than to say that I would have to be doing something with at least as flexible hours as I have now, which is pretty hard to find, I guess. I hope that wasn't too weird or boring for you. It was really nice to meet you, and I hope that I see you again in Hanoi, and I hope to get to play there again as well, because it was so much fun. See ya.